shovel, picnic table, cone was like the three things that like represented our manifesto towards snowboarding, basically. Like all you need is a snow patch and something, and those things were pretty arbitrary, but like might as well be a shovel because you got to dig some jumps and stuff. A picnic table's fun, it's like a box, and a cone, something to ollie over, and it's bright orange, you know. So like that's just those three objects together. That is the manifesto. This is Jesse Burtner, and you're listening to the Not Snowboarding Podcast. Thanks, Brains.
Welcome to episode number 29 of the Not Snowboarding Podcast. Wanted to take the first couple of seconds here to thank Brooke at YoBeat for including the podcast as a regular part of the website. And since we're probably new to many of the listeners in the YoBeat audience, I think it'd probably be a good idea to rehash the objective of the podcast. The Not Snowboarding Podcast is about having conversations with all types of people in the snowboarding industry about topics outside of snowboarding. Just to give you an example of some of the topics to date have ranged from meditation and lucid dreaming with Jesse Paul, yoga and environmentalism with Terrier, stock trading with Thomas Heckler, and talking about Seinfeld episodes with Scott Stevens. This is not a snowboarding-focused podcast. If you're looking to hear about what happened and who did what this week in snowboarding, this probably isn't the place for you. Of course, snowboarding will come up, and we'll discuss it to varying degrees, but the majority of the conversations are focused on pretty much anything and everything but snowboarding. So before we get into today's episode, I wanted to thank everyone that's been using the Amazon banner ad located at the Not Snowboarding Podcast website. By clicking through those ads before shopping on Amazon, it kicks AJ and I a small commission and doesn't cost you anything, which really helps keep the podcast costs down. You can bookmark the page in your browser so it's easy to find and click through before you buy something on Amazon. Thanks again. Let's jump into the episode with Jesse Burtner. The intro music that you heard and the music that you're about to hear is from Jesse's brother Matthew, and we do get into that into the episode.
Jesse's playing me some is this J-pop?
J-pop, yeah.
I don't know what that is. I'm old.
Japanese pop.
Oh, awesome.
Probably older than you.
I think we're roughly the same age.
Anyways, that's AK&nbsp.
Are you into that?
No, I'm not. We were just, I don't know how we got on that topic.
Oh, so Nate, I'm in a cabin at Wendell's, and it's sponsored by this ski company called ON3P.
Oh, that's how we got on the topic.
And Jesse said sounds a lot like a J-pop band.
J-pop or K-pop, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you just have to know, like, you have to have this broad range of musical knowledge because, you know, it might work for somebody's part, right?
Oh, totally, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Too funny.
I think the SoySauce Nation would probably be the first to use some J-pop.
That would be insane. They should do an AK&nbsp edit. That's such a good idea. Who does that?
Who? Oh, who does?
Is it AK?
Nation?
Yeah, it's AK.
It's Andrew
Dude,
Kelly.
it's AK.
It's AK. AK&nbsp.
Oh my god, man. He for sure knows who they are, too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I want to see more from those guys. I definitely
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it. I love that. The whole thing they're doing.
They already got Ollie in the mix, so.
Ollie's part of the nation?
I think so, yeah. They put some gram up when he was born, welcome to the SoySauce Nation.
Oh, he's in.
Yeah.
So AK is always trying to get more people in the nation.
Yeah.
He's Wally's part of the nation now.
Nice.
And he's moving. He's making power moves at all times.
Is your wife, is she Korean or?
She's half Chinese.
Okay. I think that's kind of the deal. Like anything Asian, you can get in the nation, right?
I would think so, you know. I would hope so. I mean, Ollie's now only a quarter Asian, but, you know.
He's in.
And Ollie's there with you right now, right?
No, I pawned him off on some random people.
Well, it is Father's Day, man. Happy Father's Day.
Thanks. Lucy and Emily are looking after him right now.
Cool. You said, actually, I just saw him on Instagram. I think Yobi posted up a picture of you guys, said something about eating cobra dogs.
That's funny. Nice.
So what's it like having a young, how old is Ollie?
A year.
He's 1 year. And what's it like having him here? We're at Wendell's for all of our listeners, and it's a huge skate park. You can skate, BMX, do a lot of things, or in Ollie's case, do parkour. He's getting pretty gnarly out there. I mean, is this like nerve-wracking being here because it is such a like kind of a crazy place with people running around, or is it just sort of?
You know what it's like at Wendell's with Ollie? It's like mind-blowing that he's going to grow up in this. This is his world. Like Christina and I were walking around yesterday, and he's loving it. First of all, and she's like, he loves it here, and I'm like, this is his world. Like he's going to grow up inside of this. Like we had to fight to find this. Like this is like the closest thing to like the secret hideout of the Foot Clan from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know? Like when you saw that movie and you were like, whoa, look at that. They're skateboarding and they stole all those stereos and there's kids everywhere. And like, you were like, I know those are the bad guys, but like, I want to be there. And
yes.
the Foot Clan hideout.
I want to be a bad guy.
Like this is like, Wendell's is like the Foot Clan hideout. And Ollie is like, he's going to be like, you know, this is his world. I mean, like, I've been here every summer since '93 or something, and like Ollie is here already. So I don't, unless there's some big change in my life, like I see him being here a lot.
Yeah.
How are you managing like parenting styles? You know, some parents want at that age, especially in the area that I'm in, the Washington D.C. area, you see a lot of the parents like their kid lives in a bubble. Like if they drop something on the floor. Like I had a friend who dropped their pacifier on the floor, their kid. I was over at their house and I just picked it up and put it back on their little table eating thing that they were at. And the mom freaked out, like, no, we don't do that. There's no germs here. And I'm like, well, okay, your kid's needs those germs in my opinion. But I mean, you're in this crazy environment with skateboards flying around. Are you going to kind of let him take a few bumps and bruises on his own, or do you kind of guard him a little bit?
I mean, you just kind of walk whatever line feels right for you. Like, I'm definitely not that dude that is gonna like clean the pacifier off too much. You know, I'm like, you know, like me and Pika are pretty loose, I guess. We're pretty loose, I guess, to answer the question. I didn't think we would be super loose, but you just go with what feels right. And yeah, like Ollie was like climbing up into that foam pit almost today. That's like a MRSA bathtub.
Yeah.
But I washed his hands.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, you probably want to definitely clean yourself after being there.
There's no way to know and there's no way to judge like anyone else. It's just like do whatever feels right, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be like, I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent. Like, I don't know. I feel like at some point in my life I'd love to be a dad, and but just thinking about it kind of like scares me a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I think now that I've had Ollie, it would be scary to not have him.
Okay.
Like more scared of life without him now.
Wow.
Like then, you know, like it's like scary to think about having not gone down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that rad, you know, like all the cliches are true, and like, you know, it's all built into everybody to like, it's pretty much built into you to be a parent, you know?
Yeah.
So like, it's programmed. We're all programmed.
Yeah, to reproduce.
Yeah, we got programmed. We're like computers that we're programmed.
You've been married for what, 13 years or so?
Yeah. Let's see. Cousin. Yeah, 13.
So you guys kind of waited a good while. Was that by design?
Yeah, kind of. Like I was telling AJ earlier, we kind of really did us, you know, like we did plenty. We were together 5 years before we got married. So we've been together 18 years, and we really, you know, like we did we did whatever we wanted. We followed our passions, you know,
yeah,
and we I guess Think Tank was our first kid, kind of, and Ollie's our actual baby, but we did have a baby. His name is Think Tank.
There was no pet, like a dog or anything in between. Usually that's like the starter baby, right?
Yeah, no starter baby. We're just kind of like, yeah, if we're gonna get a dog, let's just have a baby. Because if we're gonna pick poop up, I'd rather pick my kid's poop up than
a dog.
No, but yeah, no, we had a good long time of being just the two of us and all the Think Tank family, which really was like being parents a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. Sure, for sure. When did you? Sorry to interrupt, but when did you decide to work together?
I think Christina just kind of got pulled into it because it was like she has so many talents that were like so necessary to achieve what I wanted to do, and this was nothing to do with us getting together whatsoever. It was just like Think Tank wasn't even on the radar when we got together. But she started doing a little dabbling in graphic design and stuff with JB Deuce, which was the other film company.
Season for No Reason.
Yeah. That me and Jason Borgstead had. And then
he's a big fan of the show. So
nice. Yeah. So she started getting involved here and there, and then she just kind of fell into it. And it all is really funny because she was kind of always there and into it. She just didn't know it. She's like reluctant, like the most reluctant, most influential person in snowboarding, probably. Most behind the scenes, like reluctant, like would never admit to being like influential or important or having done like a lot of cool stuff, but she's like there.
She's like in The Wizard of the Oz. She's the person behind the wall or the curtain or whatever.
A lot of that, yeah. Like Jenna and I always, got more credit because we're filming video parts too. But like, she's doing a lot of the harder work and getting none of that like real like glory, Like we were in it, for multiple reasons. We wanted to be pro snowboarders too and be famous, and like be cool and like and in our own sort of way, like do it in a different sort of way. But it was also meant to be a platform to raise us up, and Christina was just doing it to like do art and just kind of like, oh, this is happening. But she's so funny because she like grew up in snowboarding, like working in a snowboard shop, renting snowboard movies, playing them until they were eaten by the VCR, and like
VHS days.
Yeah, renting VHSs.
Kids don't know.
She was like that little grom that like rented VHSs and just annoyed the people at the shop until they gave her a job. Broke her collarbone chasing Jamie Lynn down the run at Mount Baker.
No way.
Yeah.
She was like fangirling out so much. Like,
yeah, she was like a little Bellingham girl, like who was not idolized, but was in love with Jamie Lynn, like all girls were, and most men too, at that time period in snowboarding.
So you've got to be thinking like, am I just like a stepping stone right now to get one step closer to Jamie?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. So then you fast forward like however long, and we're like in Japan with Jamie Lynn, like. Like she's been, like, we've been on multiple trips with Jamie and in Japan, like hanging with Jamie, and she's just like, this is insane. How did I end up here?
Yeah.
Like not at all like chasing it,
Right. That's awesome.
Just kind of felt.
She finished chasing Jamie Lynn after she broke her collarbone.
that was like a sign, like, like, this is not the path you want to go down.
But she told him that story like the first time we went to Japan all together, and he thought it was epic. And he's like a super good sport like that.
Has it ever been hard to separate work and personal life with the relationship you have with the business? It seems all very intertwined.
Yeah, it's a little tough. Sometimes we'll be like it's like our time to like chill, and like one or other of us will just get like going on a topic, and it's like, now we're working, and like that gets like stressful sometimes, but other times we'll be like doing something like walking around Green Lake or something, and we'll just start brainstorming about like creative stuff involved with Think Tank, and it's like we're getting like hyped, and we're feeding off each other's energy, and it's like that too is work, but that is really fun and healthy for the relationship because we're both, artists in our ways. And that's like one of the things we love about each other is like creating art together, and I just, I'm stoked. I just love it when she's creating art. Like I'm like super proud of her. She's so talented, so I think, yeah, anyways.
Very cool.
I think that's like amazing to me. I think people, it's so separate, their work, relationship, life, and it seems like you just integrated that all together. And like the fact that you're excited about like, oh, what can we do with Think Tank? Like I have this awesome idea. Like that's like success to me. That's like
absolutely.
That's the definition of success. Like you're doing something you love with the person that you love, and you're excited about it. Like it almost doesn't seem like work, I'm sure, sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it's all you can ask for is the opportunity to do something cool, and
Yeah.
There's been times when opportunity is just too much. We have too much opportunity, and that's our problem.
Wow.
And then you just end up not being able to fulfill successfully in any of the opportunities because you're too spread thin, and that, but like what I'm trying to say is overwhelmingly blessed with the opportunity to do what I find fun and rad, and then to do it with my wife is like extra epic. And she's now doing graphics for LibTech and GNU.
Yeah.
And that's why she's not here right now, because she's finishing Box Scratcher 16-17 graphic.
Okay.
She can't like get a second away from Ollie to work on it. So I'm just like, I'm taking him down to Windows.
Yeah.
She finished the base this morning, and then she's working on the top sheet. So it's just, but yeah.
It sounds like you might have an opportunity to scale a little bit if you genuinely have more things coming your way than you can handle. If it's something that somebody else can do that's part of your team, you might want to look at growing. If it's something that you or her has to do, like the art, for example, then there's only so much art you can do in a day.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. And we kind of did do that in that Sean Lucy is like directing the Think Tank movies now. And he's got basically like complete creative control, and picks the squad, and he works super hard on it. And so in that way, like I'm working at Mervyn full time and throwing a lot of my creativity into Mervyn, and Christina gets to work more on other stuff. And then we have the baby, which is, we scaled up there too.
Big time. Yeah, I was going to ask about that with the
trying to add more children to eventually like have them take over some of the stuff. Like,
yeah.
Like, all right, we need more writers for this video.
Well, that's like we always gave my dad a hard time because we all worked for him on the fishing boat in Alaska, and we were like, oh, he just had babies to have a labor force, Yeah. But I was just thinking today, like, I got Ollie's already like has a whole marketing program around him. He's not even one. I've got like change that diaper going on Instagram, and like he's like all up in like all this stuff that's kind of like blurry as to whether or not it's marketing towards something, whether it be like Think Tank or my snowboard career or whatever. It's just, he's just intertwined,
Yeah.
He's already on Yo Beat.
What's that?
He's already on Yo Beat.
Yeah, he's already on Yo Beat, exactly. So like I'm even worse than my dad. I got him going. I got him working it by the time he was like 3 months old.
He's already gonna be a snowboarder. Like he's already gonna have a name established before he even steps on a snowboard. And then like he won't need a sponsor me tape. I guess kids don't even say that anymore. Sponsor me tape.
I guess they don't.
But
I would. My dream, or I don't know. I got lots of dreams for Ollie, but happy and healthy is just the first two words that always come to mind. Every time you blow out or whatever make a wish or something, it's like just happy and healthy. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just want him to be able to, it doesn't matter what he does. Yeah. Snowboarding, skateboarding, no boarding, rollerblading.
That's
None of
exactly
the
it,
above.
dude. I've seen
Backgammon.
so many, fathers try to relive through their kids, whether it's the sports they used to play or whatever, and you can just see that the kids are miserable. Or I've seen it even in skateboarding. I worked in a skateboard shop for 13 years, and you'd see these dads come in that were, my age or a little older, just making their kids into a skateboarder. There would be skate coach dads, and the kids were just so over it. They ruined skateboarding for the kid. It was amazing to see. But
That's the worst.
yeah, you've got to support whatever he's into.
Is it almost? My dad, his dad pushed him into baseball, and his whole family, and it was like crazy how far he pushed them into baseball, and it was bad. And he went like the opposite direction and never even talked to me about sports really. He was my basketball coach for a couple of years, and that was pretty weird. It was rad too, but baseball, you never even we never even talked about baseball, never even threw a ball or anything,
Wow.
So I just want to, you take what you learn from your parents and you just try to, see where you could do it, how you want to do it a little bit better. Or my parents though are amazing. So no complaints, zero complaints.
Yeah, to that point, you for many years were called one of the hardest working men in snowboarding. And do you think that you gain your work ethic directly from your parents, or is it coming from somewhere else?
100% from my folks. And they're still setting the bar. And they're crazy Midwestern folk, Missouri. And I don't know. I think my dad sets the pace, and my mom brings I don't know. My dad sets this insane work pace, and my mom is able to keep up with it and bring cheerfulness and organization. But he's the trailblazer, and they've got an interesting relationship, and it's kind of what I've modeled my life after, and my relationship with Christina and everything. They're amazing. And my dad is of a singular mind. He's driven to get stuff done, and work is a gift, and it's life, and it's fun. And that's how we were raised, So when people say I'm hardworking inside of snowboarding, I would always be it's not really work, thank you, but this is honestly privileged to be here, privileged to be here.
Absolutely.
You want me to dig this half pipe? Privileged to be here. I'll build this jump, snowboard in the rain. I'm privileged to be here. I'm lucky to be here. Thank you, snowboarding. Honored. Thank you. Don't owe me anything. Stoked.
That mindset is so powerful. I was listening to this Alan Watts, I don't know, he's kind of like a philosopher dude, conversation, but he said, whatever you're doing, if it's work and you don't think you like it, make it a dance. And it's like what your father just said, it's work is a gift. So you decide that even though I'm doing the dishes, and I normally hate doing the dishes, that it's an honor to be doing the dishes, and I'm going to do the dishes in a fun way and enjoy it. And it just totally changes your perspective on everything. It makes you step back and, like you said, yeah, I'm happy to be here. No, it's not snowboarding, but you can still make doing the dishes almost as fun as snowboarding.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of philosophy goes through a lot of things. Everything can be art when looked at from a certain angle. Mm-hmm. Everything can be beautiful. When you think of time as being finite and moments as existing only in the moment, thunk, then it's this moment, Ollie is keeping me up and wailing. That's not going to be here later. This is his wailing. These are the wailing stage. This is the 3 weeks when he's going to be wailing, and I'm going to be missing that at some point. I'm going to be missing that wailing, crying baby. And those days are already gone. I already miss them.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, those crazy visceral moments of this tiny little guy just wailing out of his brains. Those are gone. Those are already gone.
And you're his lifeline. You've got to figure out what does he need?
Yeah. So just enjoy. I had him screaming in my arms one time, and I just held him up to my ear and just let him scream directly into my ear, just to like put that like moment in there, like really put it in there, like file it away, and be like, this guy, I'm his lifeline. He needs me. Things are so raw for him right now that like I just didn't want to miss that moment in someone's life,
Yeah.
So tried to remember it.
That's incredible.
What ended up calming him down that time?
Oh, I don't know. Who knows, right?
Right.
I think I don't know. Bouncing, I think, was the thing. My dad actually was like, "You bounce him so much," because I just bounce him on my knee.
Yeah.
And I just keep my leg on, and he just eventually would just bounce to sleep, and he would just be like, like this little ball, like bouncing on my leg.
Is he going to be goofy or regular? Can you tell yet?
That's a good question. That's much debated. I think right now he's looking pretty regular foot.
Is he doing some Mongo like a lot of little kids do when they start?
Well, he's not really standing sideways that much.
It's kind of kneeling.
So he's just kind of walking.
Right.
As of like 4 days ago. So.
Oh, that's
he just
awesome.
learned to walk.
Yeah.
Oh, because I saw him charging around the skate park a little bit, and I was like, oh, sick. Like, I have no concept of when babies hit those, those landmark or those.
So he's just a year old, and that's like around when they usually start walking.
Okay.
And so like the day I left to come here, he was just he had gone on a couple long walks, but then he kind of freaked himself out and stopped walking. But then by the time there was 2 days that I didn't see him, and now he just walks. So happens fast.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And that's another moment that like.
Oh yeah.
You must like just want to remember like his first walk or like first word. Or,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
Those things like.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been super fun, man. It's like having a kid has been a blast. It's like really fun. Hard. There's hard moments, but like you can only do so much for yourself before you're just like, this is way better. You get to experience the world again through some being that is brand new.
Yeah.
And is of you. It's pretty crazy.
I guess like from working with kids, because I coach at Wendell's, and just getting them, just teaching them something simple that I don't even, for me, like, doesn't seem like a big deal to show someone or to get, but like, oh, do you want to hit this box or do you want to like do a tripod or do a carve or something? And for them to like get that and get excited about that is like an incredible feeling. Like that stoke of like, whoa, like, this is crazy. Like they're discovering that, or whatever, or sharing some moment that like, I don't know, talking about music or whatever it is that we share and like getting excited over. It's pretty insane. I guess that's as close as I can think of.
Yeah, well, that's like so rad to be there on that front line of when someone discovers snowboarding and they find in it something similar to what drew you in.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, that kind of what keeps you like coming back for the coaching experience. And like for me personally, it was always like snowboarding was where I fit in. Like I didn't really fit in anywhere until I found snowboarding, and really summer camp specifically.
Was snowboarding first or skateboarding first?
Snowboarding was first. Yeah. Yep.
That's cool. Most people it's skateboarding, right?
Yeah, but I grew up in Alaska, and I'm on the mountain above the national park entrance is where I grew up. So like,
oh wow,
you could strap into a snowboard on my porch and go for like a quarter mile. You just pump down the stairs, and then if you had a couple pump bumps, you could cross the road and go down this place called the Meadow, and then you go through these tight trees, and then you end up in this gully, and then you end up back at the road, and that's like a quarter mile. If you wanted to, you could do that right from my house, from my porch.
Wow.
But that wasn't like a rad run. There's like sick runs.
Yeah.
That you just hike to. But like, so yeah, snow was everywhere, but I didn't like sledding. I didn't really like much. Like, I wanted to do different stuff. I always wanted to be different. Like, I wanted to do it different than my brothers, 3 older brothers. And so, you know, I was always looking for that thing, and I was a little different than my family, slightly than my brothers. And I just wanted to, honestly, I just wanted to be different.
So you were discovering snowboarding in middle school, right? Were you like the only one, or did you have a crew?
Well, so yeah, 6th grade would have been my first year. And there was a couple kids that had picked up the Costco boards and stuff.
Okay.
Like the
Black Snow.
Black Snow.
Yeah,
Black Snow. And then my brother Marcus had a Burton Performer 148, and that's what I first tried. And yeah, I don't know. I tried that for a while, and it was tough. But
a great stance setup on that too.
I wrote it. I wrote it like a couple of years ago. It's so funny. It's like 45-0 or something with like
sick.
Yeah, with maybe like 4-inch tail or something. but no, my brother Garrett, who was really close in age to me, he was just like, he loved sledding, and he wanted to ride one of those GT racers with the wheel. And I think that honestly is what gave me permission to like get into snowboarding. I saw a window.
Okay.
Because Garrett is like really talented at everything he did, and so he would, if I was kind of into something, he would jump in and get way better or whatever. This is just like little kid stuff, you know?
Right.
But I was like, whoa, window here, like Garrett's not into this. I'm gonna get into this. This is gonna be my thing.
Oh, okay.
And
so you wanted to outdo him, so you had that rivalry.
Yeah, kind of a rivalry, but also just kind of like wanted the thing that was Jesse inside the family structure. And so so I jumped on snowboarding, and it took me a while to get it. Definitely a slow learner and with stuff, but then and then once I was having fun at it and doing good, then my brother was like, all right, I'm ready. And I was like, let's do this. Like, by that point, I really wanted him. A year later, I really wanted him to start.
Yeah.
And he did. He was ruling.
You needed a riding buddy.
Yeah, and we had an epic crew, to answer your original question. By the time we were 7th, 8th graders, we had an epic crew.
Were you guys catching backlash from, like, I'm picturing Alaska almost kind of like a backwoods, flannel, I would say redneck vibe in the schools to some extent?
You're picturing it right, except it's more like a letter jacket, hockey, wrestling vibe, like skater fag. Like, you would just be walking down the street, and like someone would just pull up and be like, fuck you, skater fag.
Yep.
You're like a 7th grader.
Yeah.
You're just like, whoa.
The amount of times I grew up in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And the amount of times people in pickup trucks have driven by me and called me a faggot or like gay or like for like whatever. Like, I had long hair, had a skateboard, and it's like, what? I'm not even doing it. Do I have like 2 dicks in my mouth right now? Am I like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? But it was, I guess it's skateboarding and snowboarding just seems so foreign. It seems so weird, and it's abstract.
Well, we were definitely on the fringe of counterculture at that point.
Yeah.
Compared to now, we've like become, as a group, we're like way more central as far as culture goes. But like at that point, man, we were dressing crazy. Yeah. And in Alaska, they were not ready for that.
They weren't ready.
Yeah, but it just made it even better,
Well,
just made it even better.
Yeah, I embraced it. I was like, dude, this is cool. Like,
all the freaks and geeks were all together. We were all together, like it was like us versus them in Alaska, like as far as my schools went.
I remember when like Chad Muska used to like pull his pants up, like roll his pants up, or had the cinch pants.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it, but I liked it. So I just did that. Like, I had my pants like cinched or rolled up, and people were like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, dude, it looks cool when Chad Muska does it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, it just made sense.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't explain it to him. It was like, you just have to know.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Not a lot of it made sense, but those were poignant cultural times for sure.
And you probably stylistically lived through the big pants era.
Yeah, reveled in it.
So you stood out from a mile away.
not Jinko jeans, but like
Blind
that brother that started snowboarding a little later. He started a clothing company pretty much right when he hit ninth grade.
What was the name?
Our best friend Brett Connor, and they just started making our whole crew our gigantic clothing. And so we were set because we just designed and wrote our own whatever we wanted for a while.
What was the name of the company?
It was Impact when it started, and then it changed to Pantheon.
Okay.
Because my brother got into architecture, and he ended up becoming an architect, but he, got into the architecture of clothing design. And meanwhile, we're all going to this school called Seminar School, which is a school within a school, which is really the big game changer, which is Socratic learning, method of learning. And so we were all pushing our boundaries in a lot of different ways. A lot of people in my snowboard and skateboard crew were also in this school that's Socratic learning. So we're learning by discussion. And then everyone's pushing ideas as hard as they were pushing sport,
Okay.
So it was pretty special little zone.
I don't know what Socratic means, but it sounds like you're learning from each other via discussion as opposed to being instructed.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you have a teacher, but so it's after Socrates. So you have a teacher, and you get the way we did it was every week. It was we're going to read this part of whatever book or philosophy paper or whatever the class was about, and then you read it, and then you break out into these small groups and you discuss it, and you go through the whole paper and discuss, and then by the end of the week you write a paper on it. Every week you would write a paper, and then you would kind of defend your paper with a big group.
This was in high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just what I needed.
Yeah.
And a lot of other of my friends too. It was bingo, that's what we need.
So did you do well in school? Was that
pretty good, but pretty good. But I was also kind of having trouble in beginning of high school, I guess.
Okay.
I did pretty good. Always was above average. But I got a C in ninth grade, and that was maybe I got a D. I don't think I got a D. But my family was pretty straight A's. So I wanted to be doing really good, but in seminar school I did insane. Really good.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it, yeah. And then I graduated early and got out just because they kind of unlocked us. Wow. They unlocked this whole group, and we were just peace. we all grew up
later.
They taught us, you can learn a bunch of info and learn things, or you can learn how to learn.
Yes.
And when you learn how to learn, that's getting unlocked. That's unlocking the swag.
So did you go on to?
Ray Schmerman went to seminary school.
Yeah, I think Ray Schmerd or whatever.
Ray Schmerd,
definitely.
Ear drummers.
Definitely went to seminar school.
Did you go on to?
Yeah, he got that. He picked them out. He's like, all right, we unlocking the swag from these kids.
Yeah, but that's kind of that's the history. That sets up my sort of history.
Yeah, that's. I didn't even know about that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's
how did you get access to that? How did you
It was some people pushing for it. I think they positioned it to the school district as a way for kids that weren't doing good to do good. And so I think that's why the school district bit. They were oh, you take these kind of dropout freaks and geeks, and or people that aren't doing good with rote memorization and stuff, and through discussion you can unlock them and they'll succeed, and someone did a great job pitching it because we had 4 teachers. We had our own hall, and it was inside a big high school, but we had our own school within a school, and it was a magical little time.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'll never forget those teachers and just, you know, a lot of the stuff, the kids in the classes with me, you know, we went for it.
What did
I think a lot more kids would do better in school if they had, because kids learn so differently.
Yeah,
they really do. Like kids, they have so many different experiences and like, and just home life and like, and that just sets them up to like, they just absorb things differently.
Totally.
And a traditional school, like a kid could be really smart or really talented, but it doesn't work for them. And that just sounds incredible, and that's awesome you had that opportunity.
Yeah, like my two older brothers would have just flourished in there, you know, but they didn't have the opportunity.
Wow.
And they did just fine, but you know, my eldest brother, he was off the rails for a while, like barely hanging on, and then he found his thing that he had to like go through some serious angst to get there. But yeah, no, it's really interesting stuff.
When you got the C, what was that like between you and your parents? Was it like a sit-down conversation, or how did it go down?
No, they're super cool. They just were, I think they were probably just kind of like worried a little bit, or just like, Jesse hates math, or, you know. I think I'm the youngest, and, you know, they were fine. They never pressured me or anything, you know. They wanted me to do good stuff. That's all they think they ever wanted is from. I think they really wanted me to push myself, honestly.
Right.
Like to not get too comfortable. Like in retrospect, I think my mom especially, she saw me like really gravitating towards, you know, snowboarding, and it seemed like it was too easy for me to her. Not that I was this insane snowboarder, but just the whole program, like there wasn't challenging enough ideas inside of it, or enough of a ceiling, enough of a goal to reach for inside of it. It looked like too much of a fad, or too much just not serious enough. I think she wanted me to do maybe something a little grander, possibly, or had hopes that I would, if anything, you know. But like I said, like they super supportive and continue to be, and we're like really good friends and really close. So
Think Tank, as you know, production company, or has always to me seemed so different and so like inspiring at snowboard videos. Like every time I watch a Think Tank video, when I saw Gus Engel and Patrick Patterns, that was like just the way he dressed, the way he snowboarded. Like I was, whoa, you can do this. Like this is people snowboard like this, and it just opened up. And the music, like Ween, Hey There, Fancy Pants, like that was like, this is awesome. It just attracted me so much. It opened up so much more in my mind. And even since, like, all the Think Tank movies have always been like, I mean, they're fast paced, you know, there's punk rock, and it's like, it's just fun. And it just seems like you maybe have had this big impact on a lot of people and done this like grand thing, you know, and I think that's incredible. You know? And I don't know, do your parents like see that? Like,
I think it would be pretty hard to see just exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they appreciate it for sure.
Okay.
And they, you know, my mom would always pick stuff out in my movie that I thought was interesting, and she would talk to me about it.
Really?
My dad is just like, he's so funny because he's always just like, you need bigger lip ticks on the bottom. I counted 15 dinosaurs will die, and I counted some really good K2s.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. Okay.
But no, you know, that was always like the point of Think Tank was to like, that's like the whole point of it was to bring that kind of philosophical discourse that I enjoyed to snowboarding.
Yeah.
So like, let's bring like some of these big ideas and artistic concepts to life through this sport that we love, you know?
Yeah.
So like most of them have been, philosophical in nature. Actually, like the movies are actually about kind of philosophical concepts. So
Okay.
like thunk is the sound a thought makes, and it's also supposed to represent the shortest span of time and how important the shortest span of time is. It's like what happens, like there's like one, like there possibly is this one moment, like when you're wherever you are, maybe 10 feet from the jump, maybe right off the lip, and it's in that moment the entire trick is decided.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be a go or not, and it's possibly then deciding so much more in the course of your existence. And that's what thunk was about. It was like, if you watch all the animations, they're all like something happens and like a flower pops out of a dam and then it goes and the whole like dam breaks, or whatever. Like that's the idea of thunk. And so like from the, and like so on and so forth, like Cue the Birds is about making art for art's sake.
Yeah.
And making fun of that a little bit. Like, why don't we just cue the birds? Like, what do we do to be artsy? We cue the birds, film birds on a beach with a Super 8 camera. And that's like kind of funny because Portlandia put a bird on it like 15 years later, but like it's the exact same like joke, But like we always kind of we still want to make rad shred flicks. We weren't trying to like preach some like, it was just a framework to put snowboarding inside, like a fun framework, So like, and then patchwork, that's like supposed to be like the fabric of math that like lays over the top of everything. Like all these tiny, minute billions of tiny equations that make up like reality. So like into every trick goes like all of this mathematics. It's like a patchwork pattern, kind of like chaos theory-ish.
Yeah.
Pretty much made up by us, but just an idea,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
like,
that
like Fibonacci sequence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because was that the video where you like guess how many spins?
Yeah.
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 It was like, I forget how many, 90,000 or was it that many?
98,000.
98,000.
Yeah. How many rotations were in the whole movie? Yeah.
That's incredible. That was like, maybe that's what drew me into it. There was something else that was more interesting. The snowboarding was awesome and super interesting, but there was this feeling of like there's something else going on.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, you guys have been making videos for over a decade.
And it was patchwork that drew people in mostly.
Yeah.
And thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
And because like we were just, because we did have, I wanted to make movies with a different idea behind them, and follow that idea through. But as far as the snowboarding went, we were still chasing MacDog.
Right.
We were like, let's be MacDog with some philosophical concepts. This is like in my head, Like I still wanted to be this like MacDog level dude, but like in a new sort of framework. And then we did that for Thunk. We chased it, and Thunk and Cue the Birds were some of our gnarliest jumping years. Like,
yeah,
we chased it. We weren't as good as the best, but we were chomping. And then, and then it didn't really make an impact. Like, we didn't really, like, Pika and I at one point were just like, are we going to do another movie after Cue the Birds? It was like, we barely got any sponsors. We, like, barely were going to do it. But then what happened was a few things happened. We hung out with Micah Hollinger all summer, again, who is a kid that I grew up with in Alaska. Although I grew up. I don't know if he grew up. But so hanging with Micah, he'd already filmed his Cue the Birds part, and Gus is a genius. Like he's an art. He's a like living, breathing piece of art, pretty much. Like everything he does is like either crazy, makes no sense, or pure genius, or somewhere in the middle. I don't know, but like, and then so we're hanging with Gus. He's like gonna move into our house, and all of us want something more, and we're like, we were like talking about Micah all the time. We're with Micah, and we're like, God, Micah just like embodies what we want snowboarding to be. Like on his skateboard, he is so creative. Everything he does is fun to watch. It doesn't matter if it was the way he rode away from it, the fact that he had a whatever dangling off of him, or like the fact that he just wore like no shoes in that shot, or rode through a puddle on the way in or the way out, or like the trick was also crazy on top of that. But there was like all these like factors, and then Baker 3 came out right then, and it was like kind of heavily influencing us. And me and Jenno and Gus and Pika were all in Reno for the Cue the Birds premiere, and we were all just like talking about this stuff, like honestly, like talking about it. And then Gus and I started planning like what we were going to do on our snowboards, like what we were going to wear, what we were going to do, what tricks. We were just like, we felt like we found like a gold mine. We're like, dude, let's do like kick flips. Let's do like everything's on the table now. Let's put everything on the table. Like, what can you do? Everything's on the table. Like, fuck linear. We did that. Like, I hiked a jump 30 times last spring to do a switchback 9. I did it. It was super difficult. I did it. I'm so happy I did it. I don't know if I want to do that again. Like, go through all that. Like, I'm not, like, I guess I'm just not that good at that. Like, I want to do other stuff, you know? And like,
plus you were realizing,
like,
plus you're realizing that doing that again was the same thing that everyone else was doing. And maybe that's why you didn't feel like the last video had that kind of traction.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, it was like, do that again? That doesn't sound very fun, you know? Like, snowboarding's more. There's more. We love this. Like, let's do something we love, you know? And like, by the time the snow fell, we were just like frothing, dude. Like, Gus and me especially, because he lived in our house, and we had already been filming just like out in the leaves and stuff. Like, just like backyard snowboard kickflips, and Gus would just climb up in a tree in a red outfit, and I would like lay down on the grass and just film up in the tree, and he'd have all red on and the leaves were red, and he would just be up there in the tree. And that was like what we would go do. Like, you're in a tree. Let's go film you in this outfit in a tree. Like, we were just like really like kind of getting like super hipstery without even really knowing it, you know?
I remember Lucy, I think it was in Patchwork Patterns, but Gus is like hanging around some like buffalo or bison or something. It's like, and then there's a shot of him running. Yeah. And Lucy thought, I remember we were talking about it, and he's like, it's like the funniest, it's like real quick. Yeah. Like just Gus running like a with little kid.
Yeah, with the bison.
Yeah. And he's like, this, yeah, and then it goes to like this, he's like in the snow. Like, yeah. Kind of like his arms look really funny. And we
show. He can't run, dude.
And we laughed so hard watching that, like that little moment. Yeah. You know, and it seems like.
Gus's part was like, I knew I had to go somewhere for that. Yeah. Like, that was like the first time I like purposefully got drunk to edit. And like, I don't drink a lot, so it was like we went down to a bar, and I was with Pika, and we went to this bar called the Sloop, and I was just like, I'm editing Gus's part tonight. I'm like gonna get drunk right now and then go edit. And like, we got drunk, and I went home, and it came together. I mean, he did that. Like, when you like edit something great, you don't do much, dude. Like, you just follow the guy. Like, like, editing is pretty easy, honestly. Like, if you get the footy and you have the guys, the right dudes doing shit that you want to look at, it's interesting.
And plenty of birds for artistic value. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
So you mentioned Baker 3 was like a big influence. Who outside of snowboarding, besides the Baker guys, do you really look to for, I guess, inspiration?
Well, like Micah was kind of like Micah Hollinger, also a skateboarder. He was super integral. He was like one of these creative guys that got no real attention for it, but he was way ahead of like if he was becoming a pro skater right now, he would be really big, but it doesn't really matter because he did rad anyways. But Micah was big and for me, and I guess like tilt mode, like Louis Barletta he's kind of like my spirit animal. He's great. I think what they captured on video is so great. You know, just candid stuff like that.
Louis is one of the most full of life people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're around him, there's just this energy, like, what's he going to do next? And it's just like, there's a constant, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's great. And then my brother, Matt, like I was telling AJ, he makes music and he was always a big influence because he was like way out ahead of every conceivable trend. He kind of like took leaps and bounds outside of the norm of music, like went way far outside. So much so that we may never understand what exactly he did in the time he did it, but he like and is still doing to this day. But he was always a big influence for me because he took tons of artistic risks, and like I could look at what he did and be like, wow, that's psycho. I'm going to do a little bit of that and kind of make people a little uncomfortable, but then I'm going to wrap it up in this pop formula that is going to be rad, you know, that people can respond to. So like I take his huge risks and they would make me feel like emboldened to risk a little, you know, like, yeah, I could do a whole part with like birds, just like squawking, and there's like shadows of birds and like some weird like slow motion voice and everyone's hitting South Ledge or whatever. Like that's nothing compared to what my brother's out doing, you know?
What type of music specifically is he doing? I'm picturing like Frank Zappa.
I guess, what is he telling? I don't really know if you could describe it. You might just have to look it up. His name's Matthew Burtner, but he's into right now. What he does is he'll play ice. Like he'll bring like some ice up onto like a stage with him or a recording studio or wherever he's doing it. He does it on stage sometimes now, but he'll have like an ice block and some bowls for it to melt into, and then he's got everything mic'd, and then he runs it all into a computer, and then he's like chipping and like stuff's dripping, and like that's kind of what he's doing right now.
Wow.
So he'll like go to like a glacier and like record it and follow it all the way to the ocean. And so like there will be a piece of music that's like started at the glacier and melted and ended up in the ocean, you know, and like,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. So but if you listen, it's pretty out there. There's like, he's so funny because he's like, I'm talking to him about his new album. He's like, yeah, so many rhythms. I was like, I like the new album. Like I really had like a solid week of like feeling it. Yeah. And he's like, great. Yeah. So many rhythms in there. Not a single melody. Not a single melody. Not a melody. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's so outside. Like I'll like put it on in the van or whatever. We'll be somewhere and everyone's like, what are you doing? Like turn this off.
So experimental.
Yeah, super experimental. So
that's awesome. That's so rad. Like
yeah.
But if he makes a video with that one that starts on the glacier and goes all the way to the ocean, he's going to be like at the film festival. That's huge.
Yeah, if it was like, yeah, super. He does make videos, but they're also extremely strange. But
I'm down.
They're great. It's great stuff, you know, and he, you know, he's world renowned for it and like with people that are pushing that envelope.
Yeah.
It's just not pop music. He used to tell me, like, we used to talk about music all the time, and like, and I, you know, really looked up to him. He was the epitome of cool to me, and still is. And like, he would tell me, like I'd ask him about music he's listening to, and he'd be like telling me about jazz or something, and he'd be like, well, I ask him, well, what's Marcus listening to, my other brother? And he's like, yeah, well, Marcus is still rocking to the King. He's like, he's still listening to like AC/DC and Metallica. That's like, he's like, you got to rock with the King sometimes. You got to like take the pop music and live with it. But like, I don't know. He's got some crazy philosophies on music and stuff. He loves certain kinds of pop music still. He's not against it or anything, you know? He's not against melody. He's just like
Right.
doing this other thing.
I always think of like, I don't know. I feel like I have a pretty diverse catalog of music that I like. Like I love Slayer. Like that's one of Slayer's one of like the live bands that like so much I'm into that. But then I love pop music too, and that's probably pretty weird to like if you're a Slayer fan to be like, oh, you like Justin Bieber, like you know what I mean? But
no,
but I kind
cool.
of I look at music as like, well, it's kind of like food. So like pop music's candy.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really nice to have a piece of candy, and it makes you just feel good. But it's not really good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other music that's like, you know, kale and quinoa for me. You know, or it's like vegetables and beans, and it's like it's so filling and nutritious.
Yeah.
And but it takes a lot to like process and think.
So what's Slayer though?
Slayer, I don't know what Slayer would be.
Slayer's like Red Bull or something.
Yeah, Slayer's an energy drink. Slayer is an energy drink.
Yeah.
Coffee.
You know, and it just like gets me like amped.
Yeah.
But I like Slayer and Waka Flocka Flame are like this, like the energy, or like that's what I love about it.
Yeah,
you know?
energy.
And I feel the same way when I go to a Waka Flocka Flame and Slayer show.
Totally, dude.
You know?
The similarities far outweigh the differences.
Yeah.
I think my brother would say that's all pop music.
Wow.
And that there's way more levels that we're not like paying attention to that are out there to like experiment with. But yeah, I'm exactly like you. I've got like such an eclectic music taste. It's funny. Yeah, definitely like that for sure.
So as we're kind of on the topic of art here with your brother, what's going on with poetry? I've read a couple of things that you have some poetry in your background.
Maybe a little bit. I want to get into poetry. I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, I write a lot.
Yeah.
But I've kind of been getting into poetry lately more and more, just because I think it's the next medium for me to experiment with. Feels like it's interesting because like, where do you get poems? Like everything's so available, but where are people listening, reading poems? You have to buy the book still. I like went to the bookstore and went to the poetry section, and there are these tiny books for like $20. Like, what the hell? Like, this is like the last like part of the last part of physical media that is like selling for like this absolute premium.
Yeah.
Probably because they don't sell any.
Yeah.
But like still, it was like this weird little pocket that I hadn't thought about in a while as far as communication goes. And I was like, I've always been, into writing little haikus and funny poems and whatever. But like, how do you really? I've never studied poetry, so I don't really know what constitutes a poem necessarily. But interested in it.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of like writing classes where we did poetry, and it terrified me because I like didn't understand where to start, and it just sounds like there's not a lot of rules, or like rules are not good for poets. They kind of just it's like such an emotional thing. It's such like a just like feeling you should. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Totally vibe over everything.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
It's like the rule of art. Almost.
Yeah,
rule of communication applies to so many different things that we do. Whether it be branding a snowboard company or writing a poem. It's like there's that authentic voice that's either going to come out or it's not. So
I think there's some therapeutic value in poetry too, depending on what you're writing about, right? Because if you're coming from your truth and your life experience, you're manifesting that up through you and out to the paper. I mean, just like in any sort of art, but these are words for folks to very easily see what you were thinking. Hopefully, depending on the intent of the poem, maybe it could be a little bit mysterious, but I think of it as being a very therapeutic practice, although I haven't done it in many years since, I guess, high school, really.
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely like more likely to like lay it out there in poetry. And I guess I kind of think this is so I I want to communicate in all sorts of different ways. So it's funny when we talk about poetry because I think about Twitter almost as much as poetry. And I'm not very good at Twitter. I'm not good at it at all. But like,
I don't think that's correct.
I mean, I'm like barely in there, But like, I I think it's so interesting and like it's so funny because
Let me just interrupt and read a couple of your tweets that made me laugh to the point that I almost cried today. Danny Davis did a switch method 10 feet higher out of the pipe than I've ever aired.
That's true.
And then right around that, there was a double pipe. Wait for it. Triple pipe. Boom. 6-minute abs.
Yeah.
Hashtag 6-minute abs.
That someone needed to say that, dude. Come on, you guys.
I did.
It's just like it's like 8-minute abs, 7-minute abs. It's like
we can step it up.
How much more linear could this quote unquote progression get?
Subway several years back had the $5 footlong was their big thing, and there's a gas station near us that serves food, and they came out like 6 months later with the $4 footlong.
Sheets.
Boom. Dude.
Shout out Sheets, though.
Sheets, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think you are very good at Twitter.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like a place to be. It's funny because it's like a place where you tell the truth to strangers. Someone told me this the other day. Like, Facebook is where you tell your closest friends and family lies. And Twitter is where you tell a whole bunch of strangers the truth. It's like so true because like you're not going to air any like dirty laundry on Facebook. It's just tacky, and like, and these are interesting things to me because these are the platforms by which we communicate. And like,
yeah,
I mean, and in a lot of ways, they're where things are. It's where things are happening for better or for worse. And so I think about them and I want to participate. And like Twitter to me is like a place where you can like just write a little bit of poetry or whatever, and you can just practice kind of. So
yeah, people. I mean, I'm sure there's so many. These platforms have allowed so many people to do really interesting things, but like when you're talking about poetry on Twitter, I was thinking of Childish Gambino, like Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after like the Ferguson protest and the Michael Brown shooting, like he had this like poem that they put out there that was like really profound and deep and I thought it was really interesting, and like to see that come from that platform, because I think some people people take it as so many different things, like, oh, it's just this kind of goofy thing, it's new, so we don't really understand it, but to be able to have something so powerful and amazing come from it, it's really cool.
Yeah,
and I think it's such an awesome platform.
And I didn't read that poem, but I could imagine you can say something about something like that through poetry that is never going to get achieved on a news program, on CNN, on Fox, on Jon Stewart, on wherever.
Yeah.
Like a talking head is not going to do what that poem can do, I think communication is the place to be. So I'm excited about every day. I'm excited about the opportunity to communicate cool things about life.
Is it ever stressful for you, especially owning Think? Do you feel like, oh, I need to be posting more, I need to be putting more out there, but maybe not having the energy to do it?
Oh, absolutely, man. It is. Everyone knows it is. But it's always just figured, I don't know. Yeah, it is, but we balance it out. Instagram, that's an interesting platform, and it's still holding water, and it's like fun because you have the opportunity to like take a Twitter sort of style message and juxtaposition with the photograph, and that's like the 1-2 punch that like gets me excited about Instagram. And I think that's what a lot of people are excited about, is that like juxtaposition between the photo and what you wrote. It has like a ton of opportunity between that little zone for like humor and impact. So,
and I think the audience is kind of a mixture of the two that you mentioned before, the Facebook audience and the Twitter audience, where it's strangers versus friends and family. I think it's almost, for me anyways, it's like right down the middle.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. Yeah.
And your Instagram quote made me laugh as well. It was something like storing 15% of my identity here and another 10% over at Think, and the rest isn't backed up. So the rest is like in real life.
Yeah.
IRL.
That was like something I was thinking about with Ollie too, is just like, and just how we are now, just how much of this cloud we're relying on, and like how much of our identities we're now like leveraging into these weird cyberspace platforms. Like, oh, I don't need to interact with you now here in reality because I've been working on this identity that you should have already been exposed to. I'm working on that 24/7, like here, consume my identity from your phone. This is where you need to interact with me, is from this phone. Like, go ahead and interact with me here. This is where I've represented myself the way I want you to understand me, and like, that's so interesting because like we all do it, and it's like, it's just an interesting place to be right now. It's like, it's a little weird.
I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah.
Like the idea of, do I want that? Do I want that part of me? Because like your phone and your social media presence is a part of you.
Yeah.
It's an extension of you.
Yeah.
And do I want to like close that off and just have, what goes on in real life and interaction?
Yeah.
Or do I use that to reach more people and to spread my ideas and consume more ideas?
It's weird because you're going to be like giving up some of one to get the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like the time you've spent like looking at your phone to hit them with just the right thing, which is going to be some kind of way, you got to hit it just right. Like in order to get that, you got to spend enough time in that alternate reality where there's no way you're not missing out on real face-to-face. Like, what if you just attacked face-to-face like you do an Instagram post? Just like, that's like, there's people that do that, and I love that. I respect that, I'm kind of in the middle.
I grew up with a father who was an amateur photographer who was always killing the moment, from my point of view, to set up some kind of picture. And my whole childhood is documented in film, like day to day. There's just pictures every fucking day. I hated it. And so, sorry, Dad. Sorry, Dad, on Father's Day. But, but what it's made me do in the perspective that it gave me for photography and social media, specifically like Instagram, where you're taking a picture and posting it up, is to make the moment organic. So sometimes I'll see something happen, and if I had to like go run 30 feet out of my way to get a picture, even though it was a beautiful picture, but it just wasn't right, I'll just let it go. Or if I have to like interrupt the moment or a cool conversation or something that I'm having to get this picture for Instagram, I'll let it go. But when I stumble across something and there's not another distraction, and I'm not going to be ruining, taking away from something that I'm already doing, I feel like, oh, this was supposed to happen now. And then I'll take the picture.
That's nice, yeah.
It doesn't always work out, but that's kind of where I like to place it in my mind. It feels more balanced that way.
For sure.
The other thing that social media does for me that's weird, and this just happened this morning, is you see somebody that you're a friend with on the internet that maybe you haven't seen in X amount of time, and you're immediately downloading in your mind, like, what's the last thing I saw them doing on Facebook that I'm going to bring up in this conversation that I'm about to have with this person?
I was about to bring that up because, like, that's something that I've thought about too, because I kept running into people and I'd be like, yeah, I was up in Alaska. Or they're like, yeah, I know. And you're like, well, I did this. Like, yeah, I know. Damn it. Like, so now when I talk to people, I just let them, even if I know, I'm just like, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I know there was a photo, but like, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Like, what have you been up to? Like, I might already know what they've been up to, but I just let them go ahead and like give me the real life download,
Yeah.
It's funny, man. We're all battling with this weird stuff, and we're all dealing with it,
Yeah, we haven't really figured it out. I always try to be like, oh, I saw on Instagram you did this, or oh, that's crazy. I've been looking at your Snapchats.
Yeah.
I remember like hearing someone say like, oh, we've never met in person, but we spoke a lot on Twitter, and them acknowledging that they've spoke on the internet. For me, before that was like kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like but then we acknowledge it, it's out there, and then it's not so weird.
Yeah, totally.
I think these are all problems of our generation. Like kids 15 years younger that grew up with this, it's just no problem for them.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, definitely.
So as we start to wind down here, we just have a couple more questions for you, man. What is something that nobody knows about you? Or what's maybe like your guilty pleasure?
Let's see. Guilty pleasure. Jeez. I actually watch a lot of TV. Like quite a bit of TV. Kind of addicted to it.
What specifically is like the biggest show for you?
I just like watching shows. Like I love shows. And for that matter, any story. Like I'm kind of a story hound. Like I like reading too, but TV's flashier. I'll go into like a Netflix hole.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Have you watched all the new Orange is the New Black?
No, just watched the first episode last night.
Okay.
Of season 3?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm like up on way too many shows. So I guess that would be like my guilty pleasure.
Very cool. We have some listener questions. I put up a post on Facebook and let folks know that we were talking with you. Travis Holler, he's a big fan of the podcast, says, I know that you snowboard year round pretty much, but he's interested in what the older guys, so that's guys my age, don't feel bad about that, do in the off season to stay ready for the snowboard season. So do you have any type of like physical conditioning thing, yoga or anything like that?
Well, don't do what I do. Which is sit behind a computer and edit a movie and then try to go to Mount Hood and spaz out for a week. No, I skate. That's what I've been doing. And I skate like every day pretty much. And then bounce on the trampoline a lot. And I ride my bike to the skate park and to work. I work at Mervyn. Like lately I've been in there every day, 7 days a week pretty much. But so bike and skate, mostly just skate. I just like to keep my brain in the mode of like trying hard tricks or something. So when it comes time to film in the winter, I'm like used to the battle and used to the challenge.
Do you tramp skate more or like skateboard? Like
I skate every day of the week, every day of the weekdays, Monday through Friday. I don't tramp, and then on the weekend I'll like tramp because I'm hanging with Ollie and Pika, and we're just like lazing around. And I'll get up early in the morning or something and like figure out a line, and then lately I've been filming it, putting it up because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so like tramp is fun because that's like what I'm good at. Skateboarding is just, I love skateboarding, like love it, but I've never got good at it. But
How are the mob flips coming?
they're coming really good. Yeah, no, definitely just skate that flat ground zone at Green Lake. And I like to skate the whole park, but Lucy went and got a board specifically for mob flipping. So he thinks all I want to do is flip tricks because I guess I make it look like that, but like I actually skate the whole park. And then he'll come in the morning and bring just this mob flip board, and he's like, "We're doing every flat ground trick." And so like we'll like do like we start at the beginning and do every trick until we tap out pretty much, or we're too tired or I have to go to work. So like. I've been doing quite a bit of flat ground.
For some of the snowboarders listening that don't skateboard, what is a mob flip?
I don't really know where that name necessarily comes from, but it means a pretty shitty kickflip, like kicked straight down, kind of like maybe it bounces off the ground, but like it's definitely like that kind of kickflip that you don't like ollie up and catch it all high and it flattens out, like it's definitely like the opposite of that. However it looks, it's the opposite of a really good kickflip.
Yeah.
I always think a mob flip is like super angled, like the nose is real high.
Yeah, that's a style of mob flip. That's a rocket.
Style.
That's a rocket flip.
Oh, rocket flip. Okay.
Yeah.
That one to me was always a mob flip because you didn't really ollie and level it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It was just like you kind of popped it up and kicked it and got it around.
Yeah, we just use that term for a little Green Lake crew, the morning crew.
You can usually you can usually see them coming based on where if their front foot is like way towards the edge of the board at the very beginning of the kickflip. It's like all like ball of the foot and everything else hanging off to start the kickflip. That's it's not gonna be well.
That's my style, dude. I've never been able to do that foot in the middle of the board kickflip thing, man. That just trips me out. I gotta have my toe over there.
Yeah.
Definitely like a 90s skater.
Yeah, me too for regular. Somehow my switch ones, which I don't do often, but they're legit when they do come around.
Yeah, that's epic. My switch ones are horrendous / non-existent.
Yeah. I'm struggling.
I love the struggle. I love skateboarding.
Yeah.
I go out there and just be a dork all day and just be completely happy.
Yeah.
No pressure.
It is so satisfying. Like to land something. I remember landing like 3 flat ground tricks in a day and being so hyped. Like I learned them and I was like, wow. Like I felt accomplished.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got another listener question here, and AJ, you might have to help me with this kid's last name. It's Alex Luchis.
I think he's Lucchese.
Lucchese. Wow, I never would have guessed.
Yeah, Alex Lucchese. His nickname's Cheese. He is the park manager of Coronet Peak in New Zealand, and I used to work park crew with him at the Remarkables. And he's an amazing guy. He's from England.
Alex wants to know why traffic cones.
I think they're just that thing that kind of was around. I think what happened with the traffic cone was we were on our way up to Baker early season patchwork year, and Jeno just like saw one on the road and grabbed it and was like, let's do some, because he loves like nollie and stuff. He's like, let's do some stuff over there. And then by the end of that year, it was like obvious that like shovel, picnic table, cone was like the 3 things that like represented our manifesto towards snowboarding, basically. Like all you need is a snow patch and something, and those things were pretty arbitrary, but like might as well be a shovel because you got to dig some jumps and stuff. A picnic table's fun, it's like a box, and a cone something to ollie over, and it's bright orange, so like that's just those 3 objects together. That is the manifesto.
Wow.
And that cone that Jeno found, I have, and I had every single person in Patrick Pattern sign it, and I put it up for sale at the staff sale at High Cascade for $30,000. No one bought it.
I was going to say, I bet you still have it.
They're trying to pull their money together. And be like, all right, we got to get this cone, guys.
But you know what? That might have been too cheap.
Yeah, it was just like, man, I want to make something really expensive at the staff sale so then all my other stuff looks cheap.
Yeah.
The cone from the video, signed by everybody, $30,000.
Do you have any like offers? Anyone try to haggle and be like,
give you 15?
Yeah, right.
No.
Nope, $30,000.
No, they're all, who are you, dude?
That's smart though. We were doing staff sale tonight. I might have to do that. Like,
yeah, set something really high. Set a couple things high. Make them unattainable.
Really, yeah.
And then insane. You're gonna kill it in that middle zone. But you want to have like
And be super confident about it too. Like, no, it's worth twice that.
Yeah, don't let them buy some stuff.
Right. No.
I don't.
I wanted to sell my soul.
Tonight.
How much do you think that should go for?
I don't know. How does one take ownership?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you could throw that one out there. Maybe that could be your high dollar item.
Yeah.
Too funny. So
I would at least $10,000
for my soul.
Yeah.
I was thinking less. $50 maybe. But $10,000. Yeah, I need that. That needs to be a high item. You're right.
Yeah.
I was thinking way more, but
like $1 million.
You've got to look at your audience too.
The older you get, the more money you demand for things,
Right.
Like now I'd be in the millions for my soul.
Exactly.
Yeah. There was a time when $10,000 felt like it would fix every problem the planet could possibly offer up.
Right now, absolutely. If I had $10,000 right now, I could do everything I've ever wanted. Like,
yeah,
that
exactly.
just seems like like I get a paycheck and it's a couple $100 and I'm like balling out. I'm like, oh damn, like I'm so happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So one final question, and this is one we ask the majority of the folks on the podcast, is if you were able to go back today, your current self, and give your 18-year-old self advice, or maybe that early graduating self that just got out of the high school, and give that guy advice, what would you say to him?
I know what I want to say, but Pike is not gonna like it. But I would probably tell myself to make out with more chicks in high school.
I don't think she'd dislike that.
Like, just make out with more girls in high school because they're all there. And you're going to find your girl down the road. At that point, you should make out with a lot of girls.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Very sound advice.
Was there ever a time when you like had the opportunity to make out with a girl and just didn't for some reason, or what? I mean, that's a very specific thing.
No, I don't know. No, I've always had like kind of long-term relationships. So like, I guess maybe that's why I said that, but not really. It's just kind of like you think back on high school and like what was good about it or what wasn't. And you're like, man, there was a lot of girls like just around in high school, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're like a guy, single guy trying to find a girl out there in the world, you gotta like know where to go.
Yeah. School.
High school, they just get them all in one place.
Yeah. They should tell you that. That should be a class.
That should be a class. They should tell you that for sure.
Yeah. They try to downplay it.
Yeah, they should upsell that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids would be a lot more hyped. Like,
yeah, they would be. They'd be like, hey, like you might not like the classes and stuff, but this is the most girls you're going to be around in one area. College maybe be about the same, but like take advantage of this time.
Yeah. Sometimes that would mess me up though. Sometimes like girls in gym class, that was terrible.
Yeah.
That would be like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't survive. You know what I mean? Like one time it was middle school. I was in gym class and some chick was in front of me and she was talking about some nasty things and I was like, damn. And I got a boner in gym class and it was like dodgeball and they're picking teams. So I was sitting down and they're like call my name and I'm like, I don't want to stand up. And they kept yelling at me like, come, like get on your team or whatever. So I like tried to like slyly go over, you know, like walk over and try to hide it, but I couldn't, you know, and it was just really awkward and kind of middle school. That was weird.
And then you got hit with a dodgeball in your boner.
And yeah, I broke my dick.
Broke your dick.
I broke it right in half. I had to go. It was terrible. But
did anybody remember that and continue to give you a hard time about it? I just think like middle school kids were ruthless.
I think I just downplayed it and just like I don't know if anyone really. It was just kind of weird. Maybe it was just in my head too. Maybe no one even noticed. You know, they were just too busy doing their thing, so they didn't even notice. But it definitely was like, oh damn, what am I gonna do?
That's too funny.
But.
So Jesse, was there anything else you wanted to say to folks?
Not really. Stoked for you guys. Stoked for you guys doing this. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Thank you.
Stay interested. Stay interesting. Stay interested.
Where should people find you on the internet? What's your main vein of all the social media that we talked about?
Shit, man. I guess, God. Everyone should get on Twitter, and we should all be snowboarders on Twitter together. Because there's, like, no one on there.
Snowboarder poets.
Yeah, let's all get on Twitter, because, like, I don't know.
Just famous people on Twitter. It's like rappers and and athletes.
The only snowboarder people on there are, like entities. They're, like a company.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have been following all these companies and stuff, and then I got Ted and Max to join and a couple other people, so that's been fun.
Richards is pretty good on there.
Yeah, Richards is super funny. I called him out on there the other day, and he replied, which was fun. Told him about this movie, Red Snow. I told him that whatever, Out Cold was only the second best Hollywood snowboard movie ever made. Red Snow was the best ever.
I'm gonna check it out. It's on Netflix.
I don't know, dude. Good luck. Good luck finding red snow. You can look it up in IMDb, though. It's in there.
I'll track it down somehow.
That's everyone's homework. Watch red snow.
All right.
Learn the history.
I'm down.
Well, Jesse, man, thank you so much. Have a great Father's Day. And I'm seeing you in like 12 years having a really interesting conversation with Ollie before he gets into like middle school, high school about, hey, man, you can kiss as many girls as you want here.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Just don't get any of them pregnant.
Exactly.
Or do. I want grandbabies.
Thanks for listening. If you found us from YoBeat, please give the Not Snowboarding Podcast Facebook page a like. And please, please, please leave a written review on iTunes. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it really helps more people find the podcast. Finally, if you have thoughts on the podcast, as opposed to leaving them in the comments section on YoBeat, which I usually don't read anyways, both AJ and I are really accessible. Just shoot me an email at nate@shredsouls.com. I again want to say thanks to Brooke. She also, by the way, took the photo of Jesse and Jesse's son Ollie that is the cover photo for this episode. We'll let Jesse's brother Matt take us out with a song called The Syntax of Snow. Here's what Matt's brother has written about the song. For people and animals in the north, the sound of snow can tell them the year, month, day, and time of day. It can tell about the present and past weather conditions. It can tell them where they are and where other things are in relation to them. It can tell about the contours of the landscape, the plants, and the wildlife in the area. It can even tell about the history and the status of those animals and plants, and the condition of oneself in the environment. A well-trained listener can tell all this just from the sound of snow. Okay. Until next week, peace.
Thank you for listening to the Not Snowboarding Podcast. To hear more episodes, go to www.notsnowboardingpodcast.com.